Oh, we're back.
Ooh.
Can we hear?
Ah, right.
I believe we are back. Let's just test.
Just do a quick check.
Audio back now? We're back. Well, good evening.
Let's start the one again.
Let's start again. Good evening. This is our 50th edition of our Monday Night Live, where we have come to you on a Monday evening and waffled like two lunatics about golf, coaching, club fitting and everything else in the world. So welcome. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. Rory, Scheffler, but Min Woo Lee succeeded.
So pleased to go over the line. I love watching him play. I think he's hits it miles, but his short game's great fun to watch. And just seems like a really good guy as well. And so great to see him actually get it done.
Yeah, he's a strong player, Min Woo, and I think there's Jason Day certainly rates him very highly, and a lot of players on the PGA Tour. And I know Jason Day's taking him sort of under his wing and guiding him down the pathway. And hopefully this is the catalyst to maybe having a good Masters. I mean, strong player, hits it a long way, got a good short game, come from Australia, always have good putters. Yeah. So he could be a good outsider for the Masters next week.
I think so. Yeah, I think he would certainly have been one of the players to think who could do if they're on form. He's got the length and he's got the imagination around the greens for sure. I mean, you've got to love the way that the big guns are starting to shape up for it. I always like a Hideki Matsuyama each way. Not that I bet, but if I did, he'd be definitely up there for one of mine. And conditions look relatively benign, maybe a little bit wet, so it's going to suit the bomber. Yeah,
for sure. And obviously, it's going to be an exciting week, as it usually is. Sky Sports covering it all over here in the UK, and obviously, I'm sure the Golf Channel in the US will be covering it from Monday all the way through till Sunday. What do we expect from Rory?
His putting seems better. He seems to be more of a flow on the greens at the moment. I think he's in the right kind of space. It's almost, is it a bad thing that he's in the right kind of space and he's won the Players? He's been winning. He actually won not playing his best golf, and it looks in the right kind of shape. So I kind of fear for him a bit. I don't know why. You kind of think, oh, everything looks like it's lining up, but then Scheffler was, 62 and a 63 as well. So it's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to see a lot of the PGA Tour and Live golfers come together for the first time, really in fullness. For the first major of the year, and the sound bite is the TPC, isn't it? We see a really nice opening tournament there. So let's look forward to a great week of golf. As per usual, now that you can hear us, we've got the discs, the two iPads with us. If you have any questions to ask us, anything on golf equipment, any testing, Simon, very happy to get up there and give it a swipe for you. And anything golf coaching, I'm happy to answer. So let's get into it. We've got Andrew Homan. He is with us. Good evening, Andrew. Hi, chaps. Wanted to lead off with a big thank you. Full bag is finished. Woods on their way. Service is incredible. Nick S., Nick Scrutton, so helpful. Jenny, a star, and the equipment amazing. A customer for life. That's really nice to hear, Andrew.
Very, very nice. He's very nice. He brings treats in for us.
Does he? Yeah. I wasn't in for that. So, Andrew, come back again. Simon Muggleton. Hi, guys. Ball flight with irons is down a touch. Feel my head at address has crept forwards. Where should my head be with, say, a 7 iron behind the golf ball? I always think that the left ear should be in line with the golf ball when you're set up. So if you were to address a 7 iron and you were to get again, and I'm a bit of a fan of getting the left hip and the left shoulder a bit more in line with each other. Then get the handle forwards, so there's a line running down through your left arm and the club shaft, then placing your grip on. I think that's crucial as well, while we're talking about setup. Get the handle forwards and then put the grip on. Don't put your hands on with the shaft vertical and then put the grip forwards, and try and line the face up. You're being sort of betwixt and between. So get the handle forwards, then put the grip on. Now, that left arm, the club shaft in line, left hip forwards in line with the shoulder, and then try to get the left ear lined up with the golf ball, and you should be in a good place to set up. Hopefully that helps. But the grip placement is crucial before popping the club down behind. Paul Clanner, hey gents. Hi Paul, hope the DST finds you well. My question resolves around modifying swing to clubs or clubs to swing. What is your choice?
So assuming your swings, there's always going to be technical things that we need to do with our swings. So that, notwithstanding that side, a good club setup will mean you have to do the minimal adjustment to the clubs. So ultimately, if a fitter does their job well, you can move naturally and hit as good a shot as you can within the technique that you've got. It's then up to you to get the technique and the line of the swing, as wherever you want it to be. But yeah, you shouldn't be having to modify yourself to the clubs. The only caveat is if you've got into compensations through playing something ill-suited in the past, then you've got to get out of those habits and sort of unlearn some of those compensations. So there could be an element of getting used to freeing up into a new setup, but you should never have to match yourself to the clubs.
James at Precision Golf says, just testing the audio to see why it's not there. I thought it was a relevant thing to read out. Daniel Winterbottom, hi gents, love the show. Thank you, Daniel. Have you ever found the different versions of the same golf ball feel the same but react significantly different? Have you ever found that different versions of the same golf ball feel the same but react significantly different? No, I haven't.
I think now you're unlikely to find that. I think I'm assuming you're talking about kind of, for example, last year's Pro V1 to the new one. Now you're likely to find incremental small differences. So for example, with the current Pro V, it retains a little bit more spin in the longer irons than the last one did, but the feel's pretty darn similar. So unless they're dramatically changing construction, you're not going to see significant flight differences, but you're also in that instance going to get a kind of noticeable difference in feel as well. So if I've interpreted your question right, if they feel very similar, you should see pretty similar ball flights.
Just nipping over onto my channel, Sam J, is it me or is there no sound? Well, you should be able to hear us now. Evening all, waiting for Stu. Brad Patrick, no sound. Doug says, evening gents, have a good show. Sorry I can't be with you, but I'm on the range. I'll catch the show later. Grinding away after his lesson with myself.
With weather like this, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you indeed? Aim for the bushes or the fairways, whichever one takes your fancy. Hi gents. Hope you are all well. Thoughts on Minwoo Lee almost having a kitchen fire, but getting the job done in time for the 2025 major. Yeah, we talked about him at the top of the show. We think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think the Masters might be his breakthrough. But I don't know how you feel, but I feel like major, until you get like the outliers, people that have not really won on the PGA Tour, that come along and scoop up a major. I think that's one category of major winner. And then you've got the other major winner that's a bit like a Justin Rose that had to win like the Memorial and like the API and those sorts of events and then went on to win a US Open. I think Minwoo is in that category. He's had a good run. I think it might have been last year or the year before that he had a good run at the Masters and he couldn't quite get it done on the last, because I always back Minwoo Lee for major challenges because I think he's going to be a great, strong player. But I think he's the type of golfer that plays on feeling comfortable in the surroundings. I think he needs to feel not the small fish in a big pond. I think he needs to feel the big fish. And I think winning a few PGA Tour titles might be the catalyst for a major.
I agree. I think his game, so he's got, it's one of the things that, he's got so much speed that actually that can hurt you a little bit. The timing, the sensitivity to little bits of breakdown in technique are going to be amplified. So that's why when he's on, I mean, he's just a delight to watch. But yeah, I think there were a couple of squirrely shots and that odd one in the water on 16, but he held it together. And I think that stands him in really good stead. I think
he's almost got a bit of Seve in him, doesn't he?
Well, he's looking on his knees on one shot.
A lot of flair in him, and I think he doesn't take himself too seriously, which I think is always, you see it with a lot of golfers. When they don't take themselves too seriously, they seem to have good longevity in the game. It's when they sort of take themselves, you'd arguably say, when Padre won 3 majors in quick succession, he then became someone that took himself as like a real major winner and worked hard at his game and took himself, lovely chap, good golfer obviously, but sort of took himself too seriously and started working even more diligently at it and a bit harder work at it. I think when you look at players that have won majors and gone on to win, obviously they're formidable golfers, but they don't seem to take themselves too seriously. And I'd almost say that Rory's fallen into that category. I mean, we won those majors early. Maybe some expectation, taking too seriously would come under that expectation to now press on and win 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 majors. I think Minwoo doesn't feel like he's got that in him.
Yeah, I think you get obviously personality traits, and you take the ones. I mean, ironically, you say doesn't take himself too seriously. The ones that have dominated are the ones that take themselves really seriously. The likes of Faldo, Monty, Woods, Nicholas, Watson. They are but they're the kind of the unicorns in there. That are the absolute super laser focused ones, and I think there's that light and shade. I think that most of us need. I mean, 99.9% of us couldn't operate like that, and I think that's where, say, someone like Minwoo, someone like you see someone like Fleetwood enjoying himself out there. I think he's one that would absolutely, I'd see, need that run of wins to get to the point where he'd get over a major win, and he's struggling with that at the moment. But yeah, I think it's finding that balance of when do you kind of lighten up, when do you focus up. I think that's really tough. But yeah, hopefully Minwoo's finding that, because I think he's someone I just love. I absolutely pay to watch him. I think he's sort of kind of personality and game that the tour needs.
Yeah,
big time.
Tommy Fleetwood, 25 million without a PGA Tour title. I saw that the other day.
It still amazes me he's not got one.
Yeah.
When you think how regularly he's there, his game, you'd think it's bound to at some point. Just hasn't quite done it.
No.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Tough school.
Hopefully soon. Just shows you how good they are, right? Josh writes, yes, good sound now. Good to hear, Josh. Thanks for confirming that.
I did get that image, and I think that's doable. So we'll sort that for you on your wedges.
Chong and Yap, how important is swing weight in determining load of the shaft, which then means accurately timing the club to impact and striking the ball perfectly with the optimal MOI and generating the most smash factor?
So, swing weight is not the determinant of that. Swing weight is the result of getting everything else right. So, if I were you, I would not think about swinging a golf club with that much detail, because you will do your head in. There are key things that, like for example, you talk about the optimal load of the shaft. You've got a very wide window of load on a shaft that will deliver the head efficiently and consistently. So getting the right dead weight and balance point and swing weight form as part of that, but it's the result of getting the other bits right. That's the bit that allows you to move freely and time it and deliver efficiency, not how the shaft kicks. So don't use swing weight as a determinant of that. It's the result of getting all the other bits right.
Very good. Very good.
But very easy to overcomplicate that and just get in your own way.
Yeah. If you are wanting us to answer a question, get them in early, because we are a strict 1 hour show and we like to get through them, but obviously we can't overrun. Nana, just had a demo day and found that I really liked the Hazardous Black Gen 5 60 TX, but was a bit lighter than ideal based on other shafts tested. Would the 76.5 be a more likely fit than the 70 TX?
I honestly, it's not going to be quite as heavy. I honestly don't know. If it worked well and it's slightly light, then the 60 in the TX is going to be upper 60s, and you're going to be in the 70 into the X is in the kind of 76, 77 gram range. So there's still quite a big jump up in weight. So that, if the 60 is nearly there, then going to the 70 may well tip it over. So you may be looking for something down sort of 5 grams lighter, kind of low 70s. But it depends how much you want to spend on an aftermarket shaft to hit that specific weight band, which you'd probably have to do, to be honest. So if you took a bit of length down with the 70, that might help. But without seeing you swing, I couldn't give you definite advice either way. It might be better to stay with a lighter shaft and make it manageable versus go up and wait and have to batter it.
Just jumping over onto my channel, Tony Jewson. Hi Simon, great to have met you and the team last Friday. I hope you're pleased in the knowledge that Peter will now start taking my money on the golf course. Hashtag jealous.
You got a couple of weeks at least.
Brad Patrick, working now. Good to hear. Robin Morton, thank you Stuart for your instruction videos. Have won my club's Winter League, setting a new record. Great to hear, Robin. Thanks for letting us know. Joe Simmons, when getting fitted for irons, for example, a pitching wedge to 5-iron, would it be unusual to have different shaft weights to give the golfer a better chance to improve their gapping rather than changing the loft or type of club?
Yeah, it would be slightly unusual in the sense that if you're in any kind of, there are two types of shafts. You've got a parallel tip and a taper tip. Parallel tip is a unitized single shaft, and you just trim it to length. And therefore it actually gets lighter into the short irons, which you generally don't want. A taper tip is discrete, so it has a 5-iron shaft, a 6-iron shaft, a 7-iron shaft, all the way down to wedges. And they graduate slightly heavier, so that as you shorten them, the weight maintains. So unless you have a particularly interesting development of speed from the short irons to the long irons, the chances are matching that shaft through allows you to put the same amount of energy into each club and therefore swing it the same way. So it would be rare, other than maybe at the very top of the end of the irons, to use a different weight in order to optimize ball speed. So yeah, it wouldn't be something we'd do very regularly at all.
Papa B, hello young men. Good evening, Papa B. Can you please hit the Modus 120S and the Axiom 105S? I love the Modus and I'm hoping to find a comparable graphite shaft for the old joints. You're the best.
I'll grab any old head then.
Off he goes to round up those two shafts. Lewis Goetcher. Let me just see. I'll come back to that, Lewis, in a second. I'm going to come over to here in case it's a club or instructional question. No, it's not. Sam J. In general, what problems arise from delivering a drive with an excessive lateral shoulder tilt at impact? Club head speed is 95 miles an hour and a 10.5 lofted driver. Excessive lateral shoulder tilt. Excessive lateral shoulder tilt. Any ideas?
I wonder whether it's...
What? I think it's, yeah, I mean, lateral shoulder tilt. If you're meaning shoulders tilting to the left at impact, that will create too much angle of attack, which will open your club face up, which will make your path outside in. If your grip's weak, you'll hit it even further right. If your grip's hook, then you'll hit it less left. If your grip's strong and you have too much angle of attack down, you'll have no ball flight and you'll hit it a bit straighter. If your grip's weak and you hit down too much, you'll hit high and to the right, probably hitting it out the neck. I mean, we could go on.
Only a couple of options. Because
the options are excessive. That's if we've got the lateral shoulder tilt correct. I would think that that's what you mean.
Yeah, I thought
yeah, and again, depending on where your ball is, I mean, that could affect it well. I.e., if your ball's a long way forwards and you're too much of an up striker, by having the ball forwards and lateral shoulder tilt, it might balance out your angle of attack. But if your ball's too far back and you have too much shoulder tilt, you have too much angle of attack. Then you'll be even more from the inside. But if the ball's further forwards and it's teed up, and your lateral shoulder tilt, your path might be too far to the left. With a strong grip, it might then hook.
There's a clip years back. There's a bloke, there's a chap touring through all these sort of Pro Nation, Super Nation, and tops it, catches it, and throws it.
Yeah,
I thought, that sounded similar kind of patter.
It's so difficult to,
yeah,
unless you know. Yeah, I mean, you need to know sort of a few angle of attack, path and face to path numbers, and then tell us what your grip's like. And so it's very difficult to really quantify what a lateral shoulder tilt will do for you.
I think it's for both clubs and coaching. There are so many scenarios, and it's not a kind of a 1 + 1 = 2, because each of us do it different ways, have a different grip, have a different angle of attack, that it might sound like we kind of avoid answering a few things, but actually the answer is we can't give you a definite. So we don't want to kind of say something that would misrepresent.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's quite amazing about YouTube coaching, YouTube club fitting, that people really enjoy watching the fittings, they enjoy watching the coaching and the tips, because they're educating themselves. The reality is it still comes down to their own analysis of what's right for them, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I do some online coaching and I'll film a drill. So they'll send me a video, I'll analyze their swing, and then I'll film them 2, 3, 4 drills. explicitly talking about how to do X, Y, Z, and then the client will take that in, and then they'll send me their version of doing it, and I'll critique. And so often, they haven't done it as I've explained and described on now that, I mean, that you would think couldn't be more simple, but it just goes to show what we think we're doing.
Yeah, the and even when real thing.
Yeah, and what we see on the screen isn't the same thing. So I think people just love learning. People
100%. Yeah, and there's so many areas of swing equipment. There's so many aspects to each of it that have. It's not. It isn't just a linear thing. There are so many offshoots of what. Yeah.
All over the place. Yeah.
Right. So Modus 120. So Modus 120 in a stiff is 114 grams. Mid to tip balanced. Very stiff tip. So the principle is stiff tip for dispersion control and a softer kind of grip section to get a bit of feel out of. Very widely used shaft. Not a harsh feeling shaft, got that a little bit thin. Not a harsh feeling shaft, but definitely get some stability through the ball. Good miss. Certainly allows you to be fairly positive, but without being a kind of a dead kind of shaft. So hence, really widely used in industry, a stock shaft in a lot of products. And then Axiom 105. So the Axiom with the Velocore in it is very constructionally very stable. It really holds the club head nice and tight through impact. So in a graphite, you have a lot more material to weight. Hence, in the heavier weights, hence you can go lighter and still get some stability. But in the heavier weights, there's a lot more structural rigidity to the shaft. So actually, a lot of the time with the graphites, they have to tone them down a little bit, try and get a little bit of responsiveness in them. So again, Axiom, relatively mid to tip balanced, but the dead weight is down 10 grams or so in this. So again, designed around consistency. You can really sense that is lighter, but really tight, crisp feel through impact. So in terms of Papa B asking about it, for taking a little bit of kind of strain off, absolutely you're going to drop 10 grams worth of dead weight, but it's still a shaft that can stand up to being hit nice and strongly. Really nice crisp feel. So the graphite will take a bit of vibration down as well. So, but will make a bigger hole in your wallet.
Very good.
Got very good shafts.
Lewis Gocher asks, good evening, guys. Happy 50th episode. And I'm sure I echo other regular viewers' comments on saying thank you for your inputs. You're super welcome, Lewis. My question this week, what are both your methods on controlling emotion?
Got better as I got older. I think, actually it's probably for me now, it's just remembering I'm out there with friends enjoying it, and you know what, it's not the be all and end all if it doesn't, if a shot doesn't come off, which has let me be much less up and down, much less hard on myself on the golf course. I think that's critical. We're not the guys on tour playing. We're not, we've got to expect things aren't going to go well, and actually just allow it to not go well. You're out there meant to be having fun. Yeah,
I don't think that you can ever have a golf persona. I think your persona in life will be how well or poorly you deal with hurdles or obstacles on the golf course. I think if you're a nervous person in life, go work out why you're a nervous person in life and deal with that, and you might not be so nervous coming down the last 6 holes of a golf tournament. If you get angry on the golf course, maybe your baseline of anger is quite high. Maybe work out why your baseline anger of anger is where it is. Sounds a bit deep, but I think it's so difficult to spend 5 hours on the golf course and try and think your way around emotionally when you spend every day of the week being in a certain way that just gets worse when you're on the golf course. So for me personally, I think it becomes a bit of a lifestyle rather than on the golf course. It matters less to me. So it does not, hitting bad shots does not touch me at all. Because it just doesn't, I don't care really, because it's not how I just see it for what it is. So it's much better, and I'm sure you're the same.
I'm more so now. I've always been a perfectionist, and I look back at how I used to be on the golf course and think, and I'm now looking at why was I so hard on myself for not being perfect, and that definitely hurt my golf game. It's not something that ever lingered, but in the moment I would be quite frustrated, and it only hurt me for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a little older and wiser.
Yeah, I think the problem is when you're young and you're playing the game and you're trying to go down that pro route, you're ultimately defined as being the golf pro, aren't you? I'm sure you would have had it. Hi, this is Simon. He's a golf pro. You know what I mean? You get introduced to Stuart, the golf pro. You don't get introduced to Simon as the club fitter. I mean, maybe some circles, but you're definitely more with Stuart the golf pro or Simon the golf pro. And you get labelled that. And then when you go out and play crap and shoot 85, it's like all of a sudden, Stuart the golf, how did you shoot? What did you shoot today? And you start talking about the score. It's so difficult to then not know that when you've shot 85 in a golf tournament, that you know that conversation is maybe going to come up over the next couple of days. And I think that's where the anger manifests itself at that moment, right? Because you know you're going to have to talk about it with some people. So hopefully that answered your question in some way, shape or form. YouTube has just reset itself, so if you give me 30 seconds or less than, we're back. Connor Knight, is the QI10 Core Fairway really as good as the hype?
QI10? QI10 was a very good head. Is very good head. I think the 35 relative to it is a bit lower spinning, slightly stronger flight, but QI10, is still a very good model. And in terms of hype, you get, I wouldn't say it hits the heights of things like the original RBZ when that came out. I think that was totally game-changing for some players. And QI10 is a very good all-around head. For us, the adjustability of the 35 gives it an edge because we can tune it up or down, open and close the face. We can manipulate it more. So I would say the versatility of the 35 from a fitting point of view is better. But the 10 was a very good head. So yeah, does it live up to the hype? I don't know. I've not heard it being massively hyped up, so I wouldn't be able to judge on. I don't think it's, let's say, RBZ like in terms of how strong that head was when it came out. But it is a very good head.
Josh Wright had a great fitting with Simon just before he flew to the USA. Cannot recommend enough how much a good custom fit is key, rather than listening to manufacturers trying to match products to handicap. Speaking of which, you went to Scotty Cameron, didn't you? Yeah,
we were at it. I was at it. 10 of us went out, of the top fitters went out to TPI and Scotty Cameron Gallery and the studio, which was really interesting. Only shame he's not allowed to take photos in there. Yeah. But really interesting talking to them about how they do it, which obviously has got to be different than how we do it because we aren't actually as limited on shafts and setup as they are. We can change grips over during a fit, which they can't or don't. But fascinating seeing the R&D they do there. Had a brief chat with Greg Rose, who's TPI biomechanics chap, who's just unbelievably enthusiastic about everything. I mean, he's wonderful chap actually. They couldn't have been more accommodating, and they genuinely wanted us there. And we had a really good 2 hours in a room with the head R&D designers. So Stephanie does the drivers, Kevin with the wedges. There were all 5 irons, wedges, woods, and shafts. Actually, Trevor does the shaft research, and actually being able to talk to them about what we'd like to see with products, and them actually going, yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, it was a good few days. But you do go around the Scotty studio and workshop going, oh, quite fancy a custom, and then go, that's going to cost a lot of money. But hey, it's great. It was great seeing what a small team it is in there. Actually, how artisanal it is. The hand stamping, the finishing, the paint fill, the detail that goes into it is fascinating.
How many putters are they producing, let's say, a month?
Mainstream of the non-custom ones. If you take, I mean, you could argue it's still custom, but the standard production ones, I think in the day we were there was going to be about 1,500.
They were going to make 1,500 that day?
Make about 1,500. Certainly 900, between 900 and 1,500, depending on what they run. So if they're focusing more on getting, for example, like the oil can wedges that they're going through now, they're focusing on getting those built, so they took away from some of the others. But I think generally it was about 15,000 sticks.
Right. Fair days. It's nice numbers.
Big old unit, that one.
Yeah, big time. John Burton, does a higher spinning ball Pro V1X produce more side spin and exacerbate a slice than the Pro V1? If you've got more spin rate on a
Very
tilted axis,
slightly, yeah.
it will
Very
bend more.
slightly, yeah. However, it's not huge. So it's backspin, you're looking at 300 to 400 revs on the Pro V1X to Pro V1. Going to be similar on side spin. So it's not going to be one's are going to drift slightly and one's going to side spin massively. But the answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Winterbottom, thanks for your help. I find that this year's Pro V1X launch is lower. Same height, but 500 revs less spin, so less floaty. I used to play last year's V1X, but seen bigger differences. Thanks for your insights, Daniel. Simon Muggleton, feedback to question. Just been checking, and left ear level with ball definitely looks
Good
better
stuff.
with correct shoulder tilt as you show. My shoulders had become flat at address. Thanks for the setup demo. You're very welcome.
That man clearly has a long mirror next to him as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brian McAllister, Simon messaged a day or so ago regarding shaft weight profile. Used Modus 120S for years, but means I have to add up to 8 grams of tip weight to get the sand wedge to wear suits. Is the DG 120 Ti more tip heavy?
A little bit, yes. If you're having to add that much, then I say, well, it's quite a lot to have to add into the wedges, because the wedge heads normally get fairly heavy. So if you're having to add that much, then yeah, you're likely to need to go to something that naturally gets a bit more weight down the bottom. And yes, the Dynamic Gold 120 will do that a little bit more, yeah. And it's also a few grams heavier dead weight as well.
Niels Axelson very kindly donated 150 Danish kroners, DKK.
I would believe so, yeah.
Yes, a pint of beer for each of you to celebrate your 50th anniversary. What a very kind gesture. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Probably won't be as strong as the stuff you get over.
No.
Yeah.
Daniel Winterbottom, I currently play Modus 130 in irons and love the shafts. I can time them well. With my woods shafts, I have to hold back to time the shot. What profile weight would you recommend for fairway shafts?
I mean, chances are if you're in the Modus 130s, they're 125 grams, so something around the 80 gram mark. It's unlikely to need to be more than that, but kind of high 70s, 80 gram would make sense. So if you were looking at something like a, you could take, depends how high in on the shaft you want to go, but something like if you take the balance point similar to the Modus 130, like a Ventus TR Black 7, is going to give you around an 80 gram 7X, something like that.
Sam J, who was the lateral shoulder tilt, said trail shoulder very low. Well, again, angle of attack could be too much up, path too much from the inside, handle driving out to the right, drop kicks, closed face. It really can just, you want to look at why the trail shoulder is that low. But yeah, there's any number of reasons or symptoms of the trail shoulder and causes of the trail shoulder. Yeah. Paul D, message for Stu. Wow, spent past week on your videos focusing grip and release. Oh my God, finally tried it full bore at Simulate today, and voila, it really works. This was the missing link. You are welcome.
Man speaks French too.
Yeah, absolutely. Voila. Martin Wheatley, hi guys. Any thoughts on why I strike the hillside on chips from 10 yards to 40 yards? Like to see strike more centre or toe. Yeah, normally golfers, when they're chipping, have the ball too far back in their stance to begin with. So when the ball is a bit too far back in your stance, it then starts to make the handle drive a bit more out to the right, and then the handle gets stood up a little bit. So I would, to start with, I would put the ball, and bear with me on this, put the ball on your left little toe. Then pop your right foot on its toe. Set yourself up and then hit some chip shots. And when you hit some chip shots, what you'll start to feel is how your trunk starts to pivot around and makes the handle track back inside. And what that'll do is it'll start to pull the sweet spot a little bit more away from the golf ball. If you're back in your stance and the club's driving inside out too much and hitting it out the heel, when you come to do that, standing on one leg with your right foot back and you drop it back inside, you'll really feel a loss of balance. Standing on one leg, as odd as it sounds, will really start to make your shoulder pitch and your handle track start to arc more in, and it will start to really line the sweet spot up a little bit more. If you're still getting it a little bit too close towards the heel, keep progressively moving the ball forwards in that setup, and you'll eventually get the ball in a situation where the club will start moving back in. And that feeling that gives you, that ball further forwards, is what you're looking for to feel with the ball in line with your left foot. So if you keep hitting out the heel, progressively keep moving the ball forwards. Once you reach the middle of the face, you'll feel like your body's opening up excessively. You'll need to feel that with the ball in the usual position. Hopefully that makes sense.
Do you find with that and short pitches, that I often see is that when some players go to short shots, this bit locks out and doesn't do anything. So exactly what you were saying about how moving there, and then the arms just go.
Absolutely. It's like people, as soon as you start getting super close to a target, it's like, we're all taught, stand open. As soon as you stand open, you immediately get restricted in your turn on the way back. And all of a sudden, golfers then start to become so dead-footed from the waist down, and it just becomes all hands and arms, as opposed to, I always like to, if you've got problems with leg action, stand shut to begin with. If you stand shut, now your left knee and left hip feels like it's in the way. Now you can start to actually feel like you want to get that left leg out of the way a bit more, which will all of a sudden start to feel like you open it up. I think couldn't be the more bad by opening yourself up with your foot line, because it really gets the club too much from the inside, which again is that dreaded heel strike.
So that's what I found chipping.
Yeah.
I, as you say, you all talk to me open up, but actually my strike and the low point have got so inconsistent. I've squared off, and
that helps.
That's a bit simpler.
And go the other way. As I say, go sharp. I mean, nothing wrong with being sharp. I mean, you look at a lot of golfers now on tour. They'll have their left foot a long way forwards. They'll drag their right foot back. They'll get the ball in line with their left heel, and this is a bunker shot. And they're playing a bunker shot where they can use that left leg to keep pressure on it and swing around the corner. Whereas we were all taught as kids, stand open. Well, if you think about that, what that's actually encouraging is if I stand open and that's my path line is being encouraged that much inside out to my body. Why would you ever do that? You'd want to do the other thing, the other way around, wouldn't you? You'd want your path line to be more outside in. So all of a sudden, by standing shut and swinging straight, you're actually now creating the outside in that everybody was trying to encourage. So standing shut is way more viable as a way of getting some downstrike and some pinch point than standing open and swinging inside out. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's nip back over to the PG channel. Lots of questions coming in.
It's interesting you actually do that with the club. I've not seen it explained that way.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah, don't it? It's mad. Martin Williams, I've got the Elite 3-wood, love it, very easy to hit, have even gone down to 14 degrees, but does go a bit high and spinny. I won't the 5-wood, spinny, I won't the 5-wood, but think it could go high. Would go to high, would the 3 diamond be better?
With the 3 diamond be better. I mean, you could do, if you're worried the 5-wood's going to go too high, then if you've turned the 3-wood down, then really, if you were saying, right, you normally be 15 and then 18, 19 degrees, well, if you're 14, well, it should be then 17, 18. So you could go the 3HL, because essentially it's about proportionate flight rather than, doesn't have to be 3-wood and 5-wood. In the same way, for a lot of players, we go 5-wood, 7-wood in order to create 3-wood, 5-wood flights. So if the standard model still spins a little too much, then you could go the triple diamond in the fairway woods and just use the 3 and the 5. They've got the adjustable hosel on both of those, and they will keep the spin proportionally down a little bit more, but they're a little bit taller. So it does make it a little bit more exacting on a strike. So it depends what's more important, the shallow face of the standard model to collect it and just suffer a little bit of high spin, but ease of use, or get the lower spin at the triple diamond and just require striking it a little bit better.
Good stuff. Josh Wright. Josh, you're really getting stuck in this evening. Nice to have so many questions coming in from you. Thank you for letting me know about the custom wedge work. You need to do a video highlighting what you can offer in-house in the personalisation you can offer over the custom fit. Certainly a good recommendation there. Aim for the bushes. Hi Stu, I'm down the range, hitting pulls, finishing with weight more on the back foot. Any thoughts on how to break this? Get the ball further forwards and stand shut. Exactly what I was just saying there. Get the ball further forwards, get it off your left big toe, stand about 20 degrees shut and make some swings. That will start to encourage your right side to clear a bit more. You'll get a bit more angle of attack and you should be able to alleviate the pull. Putting the ball back in your stance is another way to go, but I don't think you should do that. Go that one first. Chong and Yap, please explain braking force in the lead leg, vertical GRF, to generate more speed and how this is achieved in the release. Thank you. Please explain braking the force in the lead leg. Well, that's not easy to do without a pressure mat, but braking force is slowing one thing down to speed up another. So if in a downswing, your body continues to drive forwards, as you're driving forwards and your hip, shoulder are moving past the golf ball, when you put that force back and moves yourself away from the golf ball, you've now got a force that is braking your shoulder and is going to allow the golf club to swing, and that's by way of the left foot pushing back. We see more golfers now with a left leg that looks like this, angular away from the target at strike, compared to when we saw it back in days of Brian Barnes and John Jacobs. It was all big leg drive, soft left leg, hit against your left side. It's what people thought they were seeing. And now with the use of force plates and from a whole range of sports all coming together and actually understanding how people create speed. I mean, you think about kicking a football, for instance. You plant your lead foot will push back and you'll swing your right foot around. Your lead foot is actually braking force to accelerate the right side. Imagine planting your left foot into the ground and then letting the knee give way and then kicking the ball. So when we then think about hitting a golf shot, when you're coming into strike, if that knee gives way, which we see so often with amateur golfers, because that's their way of trying to get down to the ball and try and create strike, because they've got some deficiency in their golf swing that's not allowing them to get face on ball, the first thing to give way is leg action. And you see it all of the time when it comes with chipping. I mean, Donald Trump, Bryson DeChambeau, if you want to see that. I mean, if that guy has not got the biggest yips going on, I mean, horrendous. But when you get a club that's so out of shape, your leg action will try and take up the shortfall. And so this braking force, this energy coming back up off the floor is not easy for golfers to necessarily appreciate, because if you're trying to fix what's going on in your golf swing from the belt line up by the use of poor leg action, to just fix the leg action, it might work, but it won't necessarily all of the time for everyone. So hopefully understanding that left leg pushing back is the ingredient that's keeping the golfer centered and allowing the right side to swing around and the club to swing hard. But all interesting stuff.
But again, that goes to something you've said in the past. How much technical knowledge people have got now compared to... Well, I'm glad you had to answer that one. But it's phenomenal how much knowledge there is out there now. It's so accessible. Yet can be quite dangerous if it's not understood. The whole thing is not understood.
100%.
The principles are great, but actually then trying to think about, if I was watching you, thinking, if I thought about that in the swing. And golf, when I work with golfers that have never even thought about their leg action and they're now standing on the mat thinking of legs and not hitting the golf ball, it's like you see it wash over their face. It's like, this is really weird. I'm not sure how I'm hitting the golf ball, because
as golfers, invariably, the people just fixated on swiping at the ball, and it doesn't have to be that way. And there's so many mistruths and old wives' tales that goes on with this game. You'll see it every day of the week. You know, head down, swing slow, all of this stuff that really doesn't help. And you then lay on someone will use your leg a bit more. Well, how does that work?
Well, it's like that thing, people use the ground.
Yeah.
It's one of those phrases that can be so dangerous, because then you get people jumping out of it, losing posture, and then all kinds of stuff goes horribly wrong, isn't it?
All gets a bit nasty. Hopefully that answered your question there. Where were we? There we go. Brian McAllister, great show as ever. Thanks, Brian. Content and info is much appreciated. Played Modus 120S since it first came out. I fitted in Axiom 105s to same sound wedge and couldn't time the swing at all. Set of Axioms for sale.
But it goes to show, great shaft if it's the right one for you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Get in touch with Brian because he might be doing a deal if you're after a set. Neil Ogborn, I was fitted indoors for Srixon ZXI 5-7 combo and advised to strengthen lofts by 1.5 degrees. Now I have them. They seem to launch so low with the DG mid 115 stiff shaft, and doesn't seem like they get anywhere near the carry number I had in the fitting with a low ball flight. Can that loft change make such a significant difference? I was also liking the KBS Tour light shaft during the fitting.
Those two shafts are very different. If it's the Design Gold mid 115, I think, wasn't it? I mean, you've got a 15-20 gram difference in shaft weight there. So that's going to mean, the 115 mids, that's going to require a lot more effort than the KBS Tour lights. So that could play a part in it. But if a degree or so in terms of loft shouldn't make that much difference in flight, you should be looking at a 200 or 300 revs of spin, 0.5 degree to 0.75 degree in terms of launch angle. So I would go back to where you got fitted and just get a check up on the numbers. They should, depending on what system they use, if it's TrackMan, the numbers should still be there for you to compare against, and just get a look at, right, is what you're doing with the swing, are the swing numbers the same, or is there something else going on? But no, a 1.5 degree change in loft shouldn't make that much difference.
Richard Skinner, I missed your question. Thank you for reminding me. Great show, guys. Thank you, Richard. Can you recommend the top 3 fast forged irons? I'm a 9 handicap and my bad is a tad steep with a short, aggressive swing.
So the forged bit is one of those interesting ones, because something like a Titleist T150 would say that it's forged, but there aren't many bits of it that are. But I would say, that would be one of them. In terms of by forged, I'm assuming you're also going into the slightly more kind of sort of player star irons. From a speed point of view, T150 is very good. If we're keeping that kind of compact size, if you get steep in it, P770 is good, but if you get steep in it, it's not the best head. It's great if you're shallow. So I wouldn't necessarily go for that one. I think, then was it the 243, 245? There's some good speed off of those. It's one that it depends what kind of flight and spin you're looking for. There are a number of heads that are going to work, but for forged, fast and forged actually GMAR, but you probably won't be able to get hold of those. They're very niche. And then I would also look at, I'm just thinking through, make sure I'm not going to miss anything. The Cobras aren't that fast. Apex Pro isn't that quick at the moment. Maybe one of the Epons, 307 Epon. That's got a little bit of speed off it as well.
I missed Nick Kay's question. My apologies, Nick. Could you explain club balance point and swing weight? Which one describes counterbalancing?
So the swing weight is just an accumulation of, it's not an absolute number. So swing weight is a series of a scale that's derived from putting the club on a 15-inch fulcrum and it measuring a kind of nominal scale of balance. So, but it doesn't take into account length, doesn't take into account the components, and so it always needs interpreting. Balance point in the shaft, counterbalance shaft, or a back weight in the back of it, that will affect the overall balance point of the club. So swing weight is the resultant measure of that, but as I say, needs interpreting based on the specs of the club. But a kind of grip end balance, counterbalance shaft, or a counterbalance in the top of the grip pulls the balance point up the club, and that will reduce swing weight. But that would be more balance point oriented.
Looking at the new Cobra adapter, could the 9-degree head turned up 2 degrees potentially fly higher and spin more than a 10.5 head at standard? I need spin and height.
No, if you turn loft up, then I'm just going to use my head just to display this. So if you're turning loft up, you may creep a little bit more loft. I mean, there is a chance it might, but if you're turning loft up, you're moving the centre of gravity down. So you're actually more likely to strike it higher on the face and gear spin off. So if we're trying to keep spin down but get launch, I'd always take the lower loft and loft it up. If you're turning loft down, we're not in this case, but then you're raising the centre, the sort of centre of mass, easier to strike it low and gear spin up. So I would expect the 10.5 degree to still spin a little bit more, but it will keep the face square.
Leo, morning gents, morning from where you're watching. What is the main difference between the OG Ventus Black 7X and the new Velocore Plus Ventus Black 7X?
The new one's definitely a less harsh feel, definitely a smoother feel to it. The OG swings a little bit more tip heavy. So you get it's a softer handle end on the new version of it. So you definitely get more feedback. It's less tip weighted. So it's a bit of an easier shaft to swing, but still very stable for spin. Very
good. Jasper. Have you got mini drivers in stock to fit? Any ideas when other brands release models to the public, e.g. Titleist?
So Titleist are not doing a mini driver. It is not. They are not calling it a mini driver. It is just the 280, of which we have just had our demo in today for all those Titleist fiends out there. So we've now got the right hand of those heads into test. Callaway, we've got about one head left of the AI Smoke triple diamond, the mini driver. TaylorMade have got one coming. Callaway have got another one coming. So those two are launching mini driver. PXG have got the secret weapon as well. We've got that one, but that's very similar to the Titleist head, the 280, in terms of scale and size. So it's more fairway oriented. So Titleist is very much designed to be usable off the ground. That was one thing we were talking about with them last week. It's not a mini driver.
Very good. Jason Owen, is a golf lesson better than a custom fit? Because generally the average golfer's swing will never change. I disagree with the average golfer's swing will never change. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think they serve different purposes and they're both important. You know, the lesson will help you to put your swing in the best line that you can. The clubs will help you then get the most out of that swing from the equipment standpoint and make sure that the equipment isn't getting in the way of making that swing. So was the question, is one more important than the other?
Is a golf lesson better than a custom fit?
For some people it might be, and others it might not. But you stand to gain out of doing both, ultimately.
Is the lab golf hype justified? Good question.
No. There is, although that's just to say there is a massive amount of hype there, and it's being touted as a cure-all, which it completely is not. It's just another option. It's a variation on a centre shaft, which, you know, it's different, but in terms of the principles aren't a million miles off. And there are golfers that will really benefit from it, and there are others that really won't. I'm one of those that really doesn't benefit from it. I need a bit of the toe flow and the toe hang. If it was that big a hype, every single player on tour would be doing it. I think Lab have marketed brilliantly and have created a bit of noise around it. And you know, it's a bit that there wasn't enough representation of before. And you know, Seymour have done it previously. They just weren't a fashionable brand. They never caught the imagination. So it's been out a while. Is it worth the hype? No, I think it is a bit overhyped, but that's not to say it's not a valid piece of tech and a valid kind of, not methodology, kind of design for a good amount of players, but it is not a cure-all.
Josh Wright wants to see a closest to the pin to finish.
Right.
While you're setting that up, Gary Satterfield, hey guys, always nervous when he starts messaging. Gary, you know. Since Stu forgot to tell you to stop in Virginia for driver fitting, because he saw that you were heading over there, he made a comment on one of my videos. I might have to put on my bucket list to come over for a fitting. Great show as always. Gary, if you come over for a fitting, we will do it on a Monday night and film it live. How about that? How about that? That would be a lot of fun.
That would be interesting.
So get yourself over, make the trip over the pond, and we will film it live for you on a Monday night. And we are just about to have a nearest to pin at the Casa de Campo.
183.
Perfect. What have I got in my hand? 7-iron. Might just be able to sneak there with that.
Two attempts. I think
2 attempts, yep, that'll do us.
Fair.
That's about right. I won't be here next week. I'm off to Portugal.
Ah.
Wednesday. Bit of sunshine.
Whereabouts?
I'm staying at the Conrad. And I'm playing Quinta do Lago, Monterey, Valdelobo, Quinta do Lago, north and south. Yeah.
Nice.
So some nice golf
Very
courses.
nice.
Some nice golf courses. Looking forward. And the great news is the weather's not looking that great.
Ah.
It's looking like it's going to be nicer here than there. But, you know.
Yeah.
All good. I'm sure your heart bleeds.
Absolutely. I shall be here next Monday, but then
who are you going to have
Wednesday? I'm not sure yet. I'll see if
Nick's around.
Nicky baby's around. And then from the Wednesday, I'll be down at Halford Hewitt next week.
Ah, very good. Very good. When's your Grafton Morris at James? Beginning of May.
Qualifying, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it's got me going
I've
first.
got you first. Yeah.
So we've got 183.
This is
189.
This is such a great hole.
2.5 miles now into.
If you ever get a chance to go to Casa de Campo, please go and play. The teeth of the dog. What have you got?
I've got 6. I'm
6,
feeling
yeah.
optimistic.
Yeah, so that's a big 6-iron.
Yeah. Well, I
Big
can't go
6-iron.
long though, you see. So it's right at the back of the green.
Yeah. Who's your prediction for the Masters? Who's going to win? That's an absolute
Just lasered it.
belter.
I don't want to say
my
Scheffler.
God.
I don't want to say Scheffler.
Is that got it? Oh my God, great
but
shot.
I think it will be him. I would like to see.
Great shot. 15 feet.
Yeah. I
Great
think it'll be
shot.
Scheffler. I would like to see. I'd like to see someone like a Minwoo win it.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Great shot, by the way. 15 feet. Turn it in. Oh.
I've leaked it right.
Yeah, well.
The draw never came.
Draw never came, but you. Oh, it's in the soup. Who cares? You did the first one. It was all that was needed for
Back
you.
move better than I expected.
Sorry?
How about you? Who do you think? Who do you think and who do you want to win?
I would like someone that's out of the norm, like a Minwoo.
Yeah.
Like you, but I think Rory's going to do it, which is
I would quite like that.
Yeah, I think he's
yeah.
going to do it. Yeah, I think he's going to do it. We'll see. We'll see.
His whole game looks in a good place.
It does,
to
doesn't
what
it?
we said earlier.
Yeah,
it looks like it's trending.
It does.
And that win playing on his B game at the TP, the Players Championship.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that.
No.
Mm.
Oh, that is not nice. That is not nice. Hustle, hustle, hustle. I thought it was worse than that, so I'll take that. I'll take that. What was that? It's not outside yours. 35 feet. It's still 190 yards, isn't it? Come on, Stu.
You take it, having stood around for an hour doing nothing,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
demonstrating how not to do things. Oh, that was hit.
That's got a chance.
That was hit nicely.
Draw just a little. Draw just a little.
I think we'd take those two though. Oh, they're both.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
both.
Oh yeah, you've done me, but
They're both
I
kind
was
of
pleased with that.
competitive.
I was pleased with that.
You're on foot. Solid.
Yeah, well done. Nicely won.
Solid. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, Josh, that entertained you. Finished up with that. Go on, we'll answer a couple of questions that have come in on my one. What have we got here? Flanker Jack, morning gents. Would you go into how and when I should start thinking about closing the club face? Seem to be very... Just watch my grip series. Just watch my grip series, Flanker Jack. Yeah, just watch my grip series. Excellent. We won't go into... just watch my grip series.
About,
Yeah.
Supinating, pronating.
Badness. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed the show. We have, as usual. You're going to be here next Monday.
I should be here next Monday,
Yeah.
yes.
Got any videos coming out this week? Filming?
I think what we've filmed, there'll be, I think there's another fitting coming out. I'd have to double check with Luke tomorrow what's coming out this week.
Yeah.
Having been away last week, I've just fallen out of sync with what's launching. There's been plenty in the tank there.
But there'll be lots of videos coming your way on both Precision Golf and the Good Golf Coaching channel. As always, we really appreciate you joining us on these Monday Night Lives. They really do add a little something to our working week, and hopefully you learn a little bit too. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Enjoy your golf, and we'll see you next Monday.